All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Who's Right podcast and another week of spring training. I think thank God for the WBC because we'd be done with spring training. Or are we already done with spring training? I don't know. You tell me. I think I'm done. But Bench continues to perform. Senga's back. We saw Peralta today. But before we get into it, subscribe to the channel, like this video, let us know how you're thinking, how you're feeling. And Victor, how you doing?
Yeah, I can't help but feel excited right now. We got some meaningful baseball happening. I don't know if y'all are watching the WBC, but between Team USA, Team Puerto Rico, even in Japan, uh, and throughout we see these countries getting hyped over these games, and it feels like it's meaningful baseball. So it's a good time to take a break from the spring training games and get into watching these games at the WBC because you could see the raw emotion happening and the ups and the downs and everything. And seeing some of these Mets players uh, is pretty cool and representing their country. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you can't walk away from this and say this doesn't matter. Especially for Taiwan, Chinese Taipei. After them beating Korea yesterday, and you saw the raw emotion, or this morning, I get my time zones mixed up because they play at different times. But it was just how much they cared about that win and how much that meant to them. And you can't beat that. And you can see Nicaragua and the DR and Puerto Rico and all those Latin American teams, even Brazil getting into it. It's this matters. And I know we can get caught up in our MLB teams. We're afraid of guys getting hurt, but we don't understand how much it matters not only to the players, but to the countries.
Yeah, and man, these are some exciting games. Not only do they matter, but they've been pretty good games. Even these countries that we don't expect to put up a fight, we can get some good games in here. Yesterday those two walk-off games with Puerto Rico playing um, Netherlands. That was wait, no, not Netherlands. Who did they play yesterday? Netherlands walked off those two walk-off games yesterday. Those are exciting, and
Yeah,
even Korea
Netherlands
versus
walked
Japan.
off Nicaragua.
That's right. And then, Japan playing Korea. That was an exciting game. Again, you mentioned this morning. So it's exciting times for baseball, and it's a good time to also see who's coming up because we got a lot of prospects in these games as well. And it's a lot of fun just to see it happening. All the while, we still have Mets baseball happening. These guys getting ready, looking good and building themselves up for the season. So baseball is here. The weather's nice. Man, there's a lot of things to look forward to in the near future for us.
Yeah, no, for sure. And even the American team, the U.S. team, Tarek Skubal, who was only going to pitch one game, is now going to pitch again because he got to the WBC. Obviously, you can say whatever you want before you get to the WBC, but once you're there, once you're in the environment, once you put on your country's uniform on, changes the whole dynamic. And this is something. We just had the Olympics. You saw the raw emotion from the U.S. hockey team, and all this stuff mattered. This country stuff, country pride matters. And Tarek Skubal is one that got to the WBC and said, "No, I want to pitch again for my team. I don't want to let them down." And for them, it matters. It doesn't matter if you're making $30 million a year or $75 million a year. You want to play for your country, and good for Tarek Skubal to want to continue to pitch in the WBC.
Yeah, and I mean, he looked pretty good, but who looked better in that game and ended up picking up the win was Clay Holmes, our boy. representing the Mets, looking good. Obviously he picked up the win, but not only that, five strikeouts and looking pretty elite out there. Not, I wouldn't want to use the word elite. I'm not going to get ahead of myself here, but he looked good, and if he builds off of the momentum from last year, I think most of us just remember him towards the end of the year, but at the beginning of the year, he was a pretty good pitcher, not just mid rotation guy, but providing us with a lot of length, and so I can see that building up for this upcoming year, and this was a great sign for him to be pitching that well in the WBC.
No, for sure, for sure, and he looked great. Struck out, Jazz Chisholm as well. So it's not just when he was pitching against Great Britain, it wasn't just some guys you never heard of. You got some guys that on there that were quality strikeouts. So absolutely, Clay Holmes is a guy that is looking to opt out of a contract. Right, this is essentially his contract year, and he's going to want to make a little bit more money next year. And talk about a gamble, the Stearns factory and paying off. Stern, he took a shot with Holmes, and it looks like it's going to make Holmes a whole lot of money next year.
And that's the hope, that's the kind of system that the Mets are building here, is to come here to prove it, and then the next year you're going to be able to make a whole bunch of money. We've already seen that with so many pitchers. Another one that's pitching in the WBC, Luis Severino, did the same thing when he came here for the Mets. Sean Manaea, although that contract's not looking so great now, he looked good when he was here, and or when he in his first year fighting for that contract. And Clay Holmes is just another testament to that. And so if these guys can continue to uh, prove it, as if you will, while these other guys are getting ready, like a Jack Winninger and these other guys that are coming up in the system, by all means, pitch
Y-
well.
y- Absolutely. And talking about pitchers on their way back and kind of pitching for their life, I would say uh, we saw Kodai Senga yesterday, and he pitched. I mean, he gave up a couple bombs, but at this point, he's a veteran working on stuff. We saw the same thing with Peralta today. They're working on stuff, but his velocity is up. And he's coming in with the right attitude, right? He doesn't care about 5 man or 6 man rotation. They asked him that yesterday. He doesn't care about that. He comes in and says, "I got to prove it." Right. So he's not even saying I deserve this spot. He's coming in saying I am going to prove it, and if I don't prove it, then I understand my fate. And at that point, you gotta love a player saying that, right? You gotta love a player wanting to prove it to the team and not saying he deserves it, and deal with the consequences if he doesn't prove to the team.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Kodai Senga, a lot of us forget how good he was in 2023, getting Cy Young votes that year, getting an MVP, or sorry, Cy Young votes. I mean, sorry, Rookie of the Year votes that year as well. And even when he was pitching last year, we all kind of want to point to him just barely getting out of jams, and that being a fluky ERA that he had at the beginning of the year. But he still has some great stuff. Kodai Senga has a revolutionary pitch in the Ghost Fork, and when, like you said, the velocity is up, he can utilize that pitch and get more people to bite on it. Yes, the league knows what's coming, but what's great is when you know it's coming and you still can't hit it. And that's what Kodai Senga can get to when he has his stuff right. And for me, or for Kodai, it seems like it's all up here. And so it seems like it's all mental. If it's all mental with him and he's getting the stuff right and is surrounded by winners and guys that are pushing him to be the very best, then Kodai Senga is going to have a great year.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and the next guy is Manaya. Another guy that needs to prove it, and so two guys at the back of the rotation. Mendoza said it perfectly. We're a six pitching rotation, except for Peralta. Peralta is going to go on regular rest, and so these guys, if everybody comes out healthy, this is what we're going to see. We're going to see all six pitchers go. And so I'm glad to see Kodai kind of embrace that and want to prove it to us. And so let's see what happens. And hopefully everybody's healthy. I want to see everybody get a shot, and we don't have to worry about that. But as we know, things always work themselves out when in these things, because injuries do happen, whether it is at the beginning of season, in the middle of season, whether it's minor or major, things happen, and you never have too much pitching. And so I can't wait to see these guys perform. And I'm ready for opening day. Thank God for the WBC, because I'm ready to go. I can't take any more spring training games.
It's so funny being here just a week or two in to spring training games, and you're we're already kind of feeling this way because I feel the same way too. We've seen what we need to see from the young guys in building up the excitement. Now we want to see if they can prove it and do the dance. And now for me, the pitching is still something that sticks out to me, and because these guys I feel like are still fighting for a rotation spot, whether that's being like you mentioned, I think we have a pretty locked in 1-2 punch with Nolan McLean and Freddie Peralta, but any one of those guys can fall in 3 through 6, and if they play their cards right, or if they don't play their cards right, they can get pushed to the rotation. I mean, look at the role that we have Tobias Myers in. It's kind of like a long man right now, but at any moment they're ready for him to be built up and to get into that rotation. And so
Yeah,
that puts a lot of pressure on guys like Shawn Mania and Kodai Senga. With Mania, he can go into the bullpen, we know that, but Kodai Senga, that might not be the option for him. So pressure makes diamonds, and we got to see diamonds shine this year.
absolutely. And talking about the young guys, it's not only Tobias Myers. We got Christian Scott on it right behind them. Obviously, Jonah Tong, and you mentioned them earlier. Wettinger, one of those two. But we got four guys for coming at the nipping at the tail of Mania, Peterson. I would even put Clay Holmes, even though I got more faith in Clay Holmes than any of those guys. Kodai Senga. We got all these young guys ready to jump in if these guys falter. And that's exciting to see. That's a farm that you're excited to have, because if these guys do falter, or nobody wants it, but if they do fall to injury, we got guys that'll step into the rotation and keep the ball moving. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and a lot of us thought, yeah, Jonah Tong's not going to be ready for the major leagues at the beginning of the year. It's going to take some time for him to get there. But as far as we've been able to see, this kid looks like he's pretty ready to go, and he wants so badly to be in the major leagues. Obviously, he's not going to be there right away, but like we said, if any of these guys falter, then that creates a pathway for Jonah Tong to get in there. Jack Wenninger, that's going to be a little more of a things have to fall completely on their face like they did last year for him to
Which
get
we
an
don't want.
opportunity, which we don't want. So we don't want to see Jack Wenninger this year. And but I am excited about Christian Scott. That was my guy in 2024. I thought he was going to be a frontline starter for us, and then he got that Tommy John. So I am excited for him to get that opportunity this year. But man, it is exciting when we have a lot of these young guys, these controllable young guys, pitching well. And we can't speak much for Christian Scott because we haven't seen him too much yet. But these other guys are putting a lot of pressure on these vets.
Absolutely, and those are exciting times. And talk about some other young guys. Let's transition to the position. Right field, like they were talking about in the broadcast today. Right field is the first time there's a position battle since Pete and Dom. That's crazy. It's exciting. This is probably the only kind of thing you look forward to seeing in the spring is that position battle, because there is a position battle, and so I'm excited to see that, and I'm excited to see Benj today, another day, a good day for Benj, playing center field today, and Tyrone Taylor playing right field. So they're going to try him everywhere, and it looks like this guy's going to step it up and actually win that job. We at the beginning of the spring training, I was like, this was his job to lose, and now I'm saying he's basically won the job at this point.
Yeah, no, that's still crazy. I don't know about all that if Ben just won the job just yet, but he is looking pretty good. He's hit a home run the other day. He keeps on getting on base, and that's the kind of player that we expected Bench to be, and so he's exactly where we expected him to be. I'll give him that. But if any of these other guys outshines him, then I don't want to just guarantee him the job. I'm not that kind of guy where I just want him to. Of course, I want him to succeed. He's the future of the franchise if he in the outfield if he is plays up to his baseball card back of the baseball card. But this year, we have so many other guys that are battling for that position, and Mike Talkman looks pretty good. He's looking pretty good. Uh, you
Well, he's
know,
looking
uh,
like Mike Talkman, so he's a very decent, useful player. So yeah, he's looking like Mike Talkman.
okay, yeah, Mike Talkman is probably going to sit on the bench, and it'd be a great bench piece if he wants that role. But, Tyrone Taylor still looks pretty good. I know we all think he's a fourth outfielder, but he's been playing out of his mind this spring, and maybe he gets himself into a bigger role than just a fourth outfielder if he can play well that consistently. MJ Melendez, he's playing out for Team Puerto Rico and the WBC. Obviously, we don't see him getting too much playing time for them, so we can't speak too much on how well he's doing. Um, and then our boy, this is a Brett Beatty podcast, and Brett Beatty is looking pretty good out there for playing for the first time in the outfield. And if he can continue to play that well, wherever he goes, he's hitting the ball well. And if he feels comfortable out playing in the outfield, then maybe he gets more reps out there as well. But we have a lot of options, and yes, bench looks good. And I just don't want to get myself too excited with this young guy coming up like this. But it is good to have this many options out there in the outfield. And so, yeah, no, I feel like they'll kind of play it out. There's still a lot of time. We still got another couple of weeks until this plays out. But another guy that we've gotten to see a lot more playing time out of um, is Jorge Polanco. Jorge Polanco has looked decently well, and for us, it's kind of going to be that DH battle with him and Vientos in battling for that DH role. We want Polanco to stay healthy, and Vientos obviously can't play a position in on the infield, uh, not well at least. And so if Vientos can out or if Polanco can continue to do well, or if Beatty and these other guys do well enough to keep a starting role, and keeps little room for Mark Vientos on this. That's really just having him there for a bat. And what good is that? Uh, being that same type of hit or that Vientos done well. But with all these position back, even at first base, with Brett Beatty being able to play the position, I don't know how good it looks for Mark Vientos to make this team at the end of the day. But we will see. We will see. He had a hit today. Mark Vientos can still bring up his value by playing well in the WBC. We saw down, so now he's playing or he's batting fifth for the team Nicaragua, and he only has a couple more games to really prove it. Because at the end of the day, we can talk a lot about him doing well in the in spring training, which he hasn't even done that. But if he doesn't do well for Team Nicaragua in these next couple of games, then there's not much that we can do with Mark Vientos at this point, and he's just going to be you know a bag of balls good, if we can get that for him. So I hope that he can pick it up in these next couple of games
Yeah.
for Team Nicaragua.
No, no, for sure. And sorry about that. Sorry to leave you holding down the fort for a little bit. Had some technical difficulties, but that's okay because we got into our favorite subject. Talking about Mark Vientos. As you all know, we are both fans of Brett Beatty because of his defense. Obviously, it doesn't look like he's going to play a lot of outfield except to spell these guys, right? To give these guys a day off, kind of like a give Soto a day off, give um, Benge a day off, but he's not going to be playing a lot of outfield. It seems like, especially if Tyrone Taylor plays decent as well. They're going to play the mass, they're going to give him a shot because of his defense. So if he can provide a little bit of the spark off the bench, and I think with Tyrone Taylor, because we do believe he's a fourth outfielder, will be good in those short roles coming off the bench, and so that'll be good. So what does that mean? Because you talked about it, we want Mike Tachman to make this team, right? And is Vidal Brujan going to be the backup shortstop? Do we send Brujan to the minors? And if that's the case, do we continue to play this game with Mark Vientos? Because, like you kind of pointed out, he's not looking too well in the WBC. And for me, I was hoping that he'd give us an Acuna outing, right? Where he does a little well, and whoever was interested in him finally pays up and gives us what we're asking for. Because obviously Stearns doesn't want to give him away. So the question is he giving enough of a showing for whoever was asking about him to want to continue to um, come up to the Mets price in giving up that player, whoever that player is that the Mets want for Mark Vientos? And I'm starting to have my doubts, and I'm kind of concerned that we're going to have to give up on Mark Vientos versus getting something for him.
And not only is he not looking, because it's not like he's um, putting bat on ball and just getting unlucky, but he's striking out a lot in the WBC. And when he's putting bats on ball, he's getting these ground balls and not hitting the ball all that well. And so that's concerning for us. They keep on putting up his numbers from the 2024 off season or postseason, and that's what he has to hang on. That's what everyone is kind of hoping that he regresses to, but or gets to that point. But in this case, where you got a nobody of a team, and I don't want to say this about Team Negative, I'm sorry, Jeter Jones or Jeter Downs, you've been looking pretty good, but Nicaragua doesn't have that many many great players, and for him to get pushed down to the number 5 spot from where he was batting cleanup before, then that just shows you what they value him as and how everyone else might be perceiving him. And so, like I said, you got a couple more games to kind of pick this up, to try to prove your value. But if that doesn't happen, then this team, David Stearns has equipped this team enough to say, you know what, Mark Vientos, I'm sorry. I hope you have better luck wherever you go, but we can afford to just let you go at this point.
Yeah, and he'll probably get traded for a lower level prospect, and which is unfortunate, but like you mentioned, the key is it's not even that he's not doing well, but the problem is that he's striking out a lot. And yes, great when he puts the bat on the ball, like you said, but strikeouts are something that the Mets aren't. They want to pivot away from that, right? It's not just pure power. They want guys to fight at an at bat. They're not looking to um, just have an old time slugger, right? That's one of the reasons why they wouldn't go for a fifth year on Pete Alonso. So, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Vientos is Pete Alonso light, right? He's a guy just like Pete Alonso, who's a bat first, Stern's words, right? Bat first guy, and if he's not producing with that bat, he's basically not worth the roster spot if he's not producing with that bat. Why I say light is yes, he can have similar power to Pete Alonso, but he can't play the field, right? At least Pete Alonso gave you some semblance of playing the field, and Mark Vientos can't, right? And it's not that he can't. I'm being a little strong, kind of like what you were doing before with Nicaragua, and so. But at the end of the day, this is a profile that doesn't fit the Mets' vision, doesn't fit Stern's vision of a ball club, a guy who's only a bat first guy, and and then because what I said before, the only way he contributes to the team is if he's hitting. And if he's not hitting, is he worth keeping on the roster? I know people are, Mets fans are already going to go overboard about this, right? You got to keep Vientos, his potential, blah, blah, blah. Hey, just like Pete Alonso and Brandon Nimmo, they're and Edwin Diaz, they're going to do well for their team right now. I'm not worried about if Mark Vientos does well for another team. Right now, we got to think about what's good for the Mets right now. And I just don't see a spot on this roster for Mark Vientos.
You know what that reminds me of too is when my kids will see their other uh the other one playing with something and say, "Man, but I was just playing with that. I want that. That was so much fun when I had it." We can't be like that. We got to be able to let it go, like you said. And if he does well, we wish him well. We're not haters on this podcast. If Mark Vientos goes out and starts putting up a 40-40 season for the Marlins, then we got to sit here and be like, all right, yeah, good for him. He gets to do that where he grew up and is doing well, and we'll wish him well. But at this point, I'm excited about, like I said, Jorge Polanco. I think that he's going to be a great DH this year, for the Mets. He's going to put up some great numbers. And then, like you said, Vidal Brujan, is that a guy that can, um, up his value and do well as a backup shortstop? Whereas Ronnie Mauricio going to break out and in a big way this year. I'll keep on pointing to that and beating that drum because I still have faith in Ronnie Mauricio and in the Ellie De La Cruz like structure that he's built. So we've got plenty of talent on this team. guys that are coming up. Not only did we talk about the young guys in the pitching lab down on the farm, but there are a lot of guys coming up for us in the department as well. As we've seen Ryan Clifford play, fairly decent in spring training. AJ Ewing. These are all guys that are on the verge of making the major leagues, and the last thing that we need is another plug or another roadblock for these guys not making room in the major leagues. Not to say that Mark Vientos is a roadblock right now, but if he can put it on like we would be rooting for him for another team, we'd be rooting for him 100 times more if he does that for the Mets.
Yeah, no, for sure, and that's the thing. We're not. We got to get to the level where we're not worried about losing prospects. In a sense that we got so many guys coming in, and yes, Vientos dazzled, right? Even Acuna dazzled for 2 weeks, right? And we let him go. We got to be okay with letting these guys go. I'm cheering for Acuna to do well in Chicago. I'll cheer for Vientos to do well somewhere else. Mauricio, he needs a full year in the minors. I'll see Mauricio next year. Let him get a full year, or let me rephrase that: June, July, if he's killing it down there and he's hitting from the right side of the plate, then I might get excited. But until he either gives up hitting right-handed or shows some production right-handed, I can't get too excited about Mauricio right now. Not that I'm giving up on him, but I need to see him just play. He's been out of the game for a long time and he hasn't played. So let's keep it going with that. And so again, you mentioned it, Ryan Clifford, another guy that played the outfield. Some versatility on Ryan Clifford. We got Reimer coming up, guys that next year are going to have to be added to the 40 man. So there's a lot of potential and even more to the point of how does Mark Vientos fit this team if these guys who are players just like Mark Vientos in the sense of their offense and can also play the field. Suero, our catcher coming up, can play outfielder, first base, and catcher, which I think is tremendous value in today's roster construction. A guy that can be your backup catcher and play the field. That's a guy to keep an eye on as well. But that's for a future Who's Right pod, and so we'll talk about those guys later. But let's talk about Team DR. Let's finish this up on a high note. Team DR dominating for the second game in a row. You know, first game kind of gave us a little scare in the beginning. I got a little nervous, and but they turned it on like we all expected them to. But don't make me nervous like that again, Team DR. That kind of it got me a little bit, but they turned it on today, and just keep it going and keep the vibes, junior Caminero vibes going. Let's keep it. Let's do it. Let's go.
Oh, you of little faith. If you had any doubt for a second that Team DR wasn't going to walk away with a win a couple of days ago against Nicaragua, then you're crazy, man. Because I mean, we see how talented that roster is, and who's the leader of that team? Who do they always pan to when these big moments? Who is always whispering in the ears of these big hits that come from the Team DR? It's Juan Soto. It's the captain of that team, if we can say that, and that loaded roster that they have. It looks like he is the leader that everyone's turning to. Even a Vladdy Guerrero Jr. is sitting down and talking with Juan Soto, respecting the advice that he's giving him, and he's not even older than him. They're the same age, and it's crazy to think that a young guy like Juan Soto is there just leading the way for this team that is so talented with a lot of veterans on that team as well. And he capped it off today, ending with that mercy rule, with that home run. today against Team Netherlands, and you know it's just been awesome to see. There's or there's three dogs in this race for the World Baseball Classic, and you know in Japan, USA, and uh, you know I don't want to sleep on these other teams, but Japan,
Don't sleep
USA.
on Venezuela. Please don't sleep on Venezuela. We play them on Wednesday.
Okay, if you listen, if you had doubts on uh about the Nicaragua game, I understand why you're scared about Venezuela, but I'm not worried about that. That's easy money. But but
Down this podcast right now can't have all that talk like that. Baseball gods are listening.
they're not there yet. They'll be there next baseball World Baseball Classic. They're gonna be good. You know why? Francisco Alvarez is gonna be on that team. He's gonna be killing it for them. But but this year, you know, with the way that DR is constructed, man, it's awesome. And seeing Juan Soto, Luis Severino being a former Met, and all these other guys, just having a lot of fun is awesome. And I think it's great momentum for all those guys, but especially Juan Soto leading into the season.
Yeah, no, for sure. And all jokes aside, yeah, I mean, I would give a couple more teams a nod because any given day, a team can have a outstanding pitching performance. So, I won't hold any of these teams back. But it's exciting. Like you said, Juan Soto is not only the captain of one of the best teams in the world, but he's starting to be that guy, that leader, even in the Mets clubhouse, because you even heard Carson Benge name him and Tyrone Taylor personally as guys. Obviously, he said everybody helped him, even a guy like Simeon, but guys that are talking to Benj and that are Benj like guys looking to Soto as for advice, for knowledge. No, this is exciting times. Not only to be a DR fan, but to be a Mets fan because it's man, we got one of the best players on the planet wearing a Mets uniform. Um, yeah, can't say anything more than that because I'm too excited. Can't wait to play. Let's play some games. Come on.
Absolutely. Let's go. And you know, we got a week and a half left of World Baseball Classic. Y'all enjoy it. It's gonna be a lot of fun, especially if you're rooting for Team USA. Man, we got a lot of fun baseball to watch leading up. Noel McLean pitches in a couple of days. What is that, Tuesday? He pitches on Tuesday, and is going to pitch against Team Italy. That's going to be exciting to see him on the mound. And so, a lot of exciting stuff uh, for in the World Baseball Classic, but in the for the Mets in general. And so, yeah, let's continue to enjoy what we have here and build the momentum to opening day.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're gonna leave it there. We're gonna leave it with the good vibes. And before we get out of here, let me know how you feel about Vientos, about Benj winning the spot, about Senga's performance, first time performance. Let me know how you're feeling on replay. And remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this with your friends. Let them know how we're all feeling. And Victor, any last words?
Nah, man. I mean, New York teams are looking pretty good. The Knicks had a falter today. They lost to the Lakers, but you know, it's coming into crunch time for those teams too. And well, not crunch time just yet, but uh
Yeah,
but Knicks are playing some pretty good ball, and you know the Giants are making moves. Lots of good things in New York sports, and baseball season is here, guys. Let's go Mets.
Absolutely. And, since you shouted out the basketball, shout out to all the college wrestling going on. We had the first inaugural NCAA Women's Championship Wrestling this weekend. And, exciting times in the wrestling world. That's, a sport that's near and dear to this household. And to see the women get their own championship, it's exciting times in the wrestling world. So, love to see it. All right, guys. Can't wait. The season almost here. WBC week and a half away. But until then, until next week, let's go Mets.